Alright guys, it's time for another episode of Do-Overs. Today we're going to try and pilot the Buffalo Sabres to Stanley Cup glory by reversing 3 of their biggest mistakes in the last 3 seasons. Probably the toughest one yet, but I'll be the captain you need. Real talk though, the biggest mistake the Sabres have made is not bringing back the Buffalo head, am I right? A hot logo. But sure, have the Buffa slug in the game. Alright guys, if this is the first time watching a do-over video, here are a recap of the rules. Basically, you can reverse any trade or deal done since this summer or the draft of 2015. You can repick any draft pick from any of those drafts following, but it can only be within 3 picks behind the one that the team made. You can't pick higher because you wouldn't have had that pick, and you can't pick some 7th overall superstar because that just wouldn't have happened. You can sign any free agent in the offseason of the past 3 years, but it has to be for roughly the same cap value if you signed someone else, and any trade can be reversed in the last 3 seasons. So guys, this is the Buffalo Sabres do-over. So let's get into fixing the 3 biggest mistakes of the Sabres. The first one is extremely easy. In the 2016 NHL entry draft, the Buffalo Sabres selected forward Alexander Nylander. The problem is the very next selection, Montreal took Mikhail Sergachev. Had they taken Sergachev instead of Nylander, they would have had a stud defenseman to go with Rasmus Ristolainen and improve upon that young defense core. Now, obviously, because Sergachev was traded to Tampa, to reverse this draft pick, you have to send Drouin back to the Lightning. Montreal kind of gets the shaft here. The next reversal is also another draft pick miss. In the 2015 NHL entry draft, the Buffalo Sabres sent the Ottawa Senators their first-round pick, which ended up being number 21 overall. The Ottawa Senators selected Colin White. Now, had Buffalo not traded for that pick and used it correctly to draft Brock Boeser, they have an extremely good winger to go with Jack Eichel and Jeff Skinner. Team's starting to take shape now. And lastly, you're going to have to reverse that Evander Kane deal to my Sharks. The return just wasn't nearly good enough, and those first-round picks are kind of useless in the next season for us in this series anyway. So Evander Kane goes back to the Sabres, and now we have an extremely good top 6 to go with Boeser, Eichel, Skinner. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes. So here's what we're left with. Skinner, Eichel, Boeser on the first line, Kane, Mittelstadt, and Reinhart on the second, followed by Sabatka, Tage Thompson, Kyle Okposo, and then Wilson, Jorgensen, and Patrick Berglund. On defense, we have Sergachev, Ristolainen, Scandella, Bogosian, McCabe, and Hunwick. Obviously, it's missing Rasmus Dahlin, and obviously we're going to have to fix him. We have Carter, Hutton, and Nets with Linus Ullmark backing him up, so I wouldn't mind upgrading the goaltender situation, but things are looking much better by reversing those 3 deals, and it's not so bleak in Buffalo. So we're going to change things up and try to make these videos a little bit shorter because if I do make the playoffs, obviously I want to show more of that than the regular season. So what I'm going to do is sim a lot of the regular season and turn off all the updates and whatnot so that we can get right to the playoffs if we make them. So here's the lineup going into the season. I'm pretty stoked with it. Sergachev, Ristolainen, Dahlin, Scandella, McCabe, Bogosian's a really good defensive unit now. And our forward group with Kane, Boeser, and Jeff Skinner is obviously extremely good. So let's see if these Sabres can't do some damage in the regular season. So we're midway through November here, and I get an interesting trade offer from the Colorado Avalanche. I put Kyle Okposo on the block because he's $6 million, and he's just really about a 40-point player now. And as we roll into December, the team's 16-11-2, which isn't bad, but it's not where I want it to be. So I end up getting an offer for Philip Grubauer for Kyle Okposo straight up, and I feel like that's a decent deal for these Sabres to make because I think that Grubauer could be a better goalie than Carter Hutton, and it's an easy accept here. And that trade brings us into the Christmas break where we're not bad, 19-16-2. You definitely want to see that improve a little bit. As far as the standings go, we're 4th in the Atlantic in a wild card spot, so you can't complain. Jack Eichel's having a fantastic season so far, as well as Skinner and Boeser, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Dahlin, on the other hand, is having a rough go so far, and I'm hoping that he can come around offensively a little bit. And we're moving right into the trade deadline, 35, 25, and 2. Taking a look at the stats here, we're second in the Atlantic Division, a few points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is fantastic because that's where I want it to be. In a playoff spot by the deadline. Just looking at the stats from the team, we've got Eichel with 60 points in 62 games, Besser has 53 in 62, and Skinner with 52 in 62. So that first line is fantastic. Reinhart chipping in with about on pace for about a 50-point season. And yeah, I want to make some moves here. So what I wanted to upgrade was top 4 defenseman and a bottom 6 forward. So what I ended up doing, looking over the trade block here, I found Alexander Edler from the Vancouver Canucks looking for a prospect. So I traded Brandon Gull. No problem with that. He wasn't going to impact the team anytime soon, and I wanted to try and load up for a playoff run. I also traded one of the first-round picks that Buffalo has next season for Marcus Johansson. Again, he's just going to be a top 9 forward, but it just gives the offense a little bit more depth going into the playoffs, as the team wasn't scoring all that much just from team statistics. And just simming to the end of the regular season, we actually finished second in the Atlantic Division, which is fantastic. I just wanted to make the playoffs with the Sabres in the first season of the do-over, but yeah, we ended up finishing second in the division with 48, 31, and 3, and the top line was fantastic. Eichel had over 80 points, and Besser and Skinner both top 70, so that was fantastic. Dahlin had less than 10 points, so that's kind of concerning, but he bumped up to an 83, so I'm all right with that. Moving on to the playoffs here is the bracket. So first, these Sabres are going to be taking on the Boston Bruins in the first round. We also have the Flyers and Pens, the Capitals and Hurricanes, and Lightning and Columbus. No Toronto, yikes. On the West, we have the Sharks and Blackhawks, Flames and Ducks, Jets and Wild, and then finally the Predators and Dallas. Yeah, Toronto not being in is pretty crazy, but it looks like the Hurricanes made some great strides this season. Get wrecked, Toronto. Time for some playoff hockey, boys. Just going into game 1, we've got Skinner, Eichel, Besser, first line. Second line's Kane, Middlestad, and Reinhart. Third is Marcus Johansson, who we acquired at the deadline, with Tage Thompson and Vladimir Sabatka. And our fourth line is Connor Sheary, Berglund, and Pominville. On defense, we've got Sergachev and Ristolainen, Alexander Edler, and Rasmus Dahlin, and then Marco Scandella and Zach Bogosian. Then in net, we've got Grubauer with Carter Hutton backing him up. So the team looks ready to go. Let's get into game 1 against Boston. So things are all zeros after 1. In the second period, we've got a 1-0 lead with newly acquired Marcus Johansson getting the goal. And then at the end of game 1, we have Berglund and Tage Thompson filling in with Grubauer getting the shutout. So the Sabres take game 1. Let's go. And here we are going into game 2, looking to get that early 2-0 lead after 1. Boston still hasn't scored a goal in this series yet. After 2, it's still 0-0. Boston still has yet to get on the board. That's 5 periods. And after 3, we're going to overtime, 0-0. Boston's gone a full 2 games without a goal. So let's jump in and see what happens in overtime.
With it, it's been a tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. Buffalo's prevailed on another faceoff, directing that one to Reinhart. It's an onside play. Reads the play and keeps it. Takes a shot. And a save. Lost possession there. Slid to the game, and the power play unit comes out.
Well, what he was trying to do is trying to get the puck, but unfortunately for him, he reached in and hooked around the player. Off to the penalty box he goes.
The Sabres get a 2-man advantage. It's not a long one, but it might be enough.
This 5-on-3 power play has to be careful that they don't get lulled into a sense of security here, that they move the puck around the outside and never challenge the penalty killers.
They must reach off the defense. Puck out of play into the player's bench. Clock stopped.
It's pretty funny to see fans fight for a loose puck, but as the puck's flipped up over the glass, you see everybody try to wrestle into position so they can maybe get their hands on a game puck.
Puck dropped.
So one overtime was not enough. We're going into the second. Boston hasn't scored a goal in the first 7 periods of this series. Just craziness.
Still and begin from their own end. Whipped on the shot. Thrown to the slot. Score! And the overtime is finished. 2 games, 2 victories, both by the same team. Something must change in game 3. But will it?
The players can feel good about taking the first 2 games and building that momentum into the next game.
So the Sabres are rolling. Boston still hasn't scored a goal in this series, and we're up 2-0 now. So we're looking to keep that going into Game 3 and see if we can't make this a short series. So starting off Game 3, we have a tie. Finally, Boston scores a goal. It is 1-1 after 1. Eichel and Marchand with the goals. To start off Game 3 through 2 periods, nothing else, so it's still 1-1. Going into the third period, we're trying to take that 3-goal lead, so let's see how this one plays out. Besser with another goal. It's 2-1 now early in the third period, and Boston ties it up with Chara from the point, and it is 2-2 with about 10 minutes to go. Besser scores again. What an animal. Under 10 minutes to go. We're getting down to about that 5-minute mark. And holy smokes, they tied it with under 2 minutes to go in the game. It looks like we've got overtime yet again, and this is Game 3, trying to go up 3-0.
This bit of hockey so far, and more to come. Tied up, but a good reach and a good step in there for possession. Slid to Skinner. He saved it. Strong save.
The shooter shaking his head. Great save.
Gloved. Freezes, divided in half. The puck's dropped, and that's a great job tying the man up on that faceoff. Laid up that right side to Marchand. Got it in his own end. The Sabres up the wing are moving the puck. Using the point. Snaps off a wrist shot. Score! And the overtime is finished. 3 games played and the same outcome in each. You don't see any walls right now, but there are some backs up against.
This is what you call, Doc, a commanding lead. They're 1 win away from sweeping this series.
Edzo, the goaltender's too quick to rely on his technique. He drops down.
All right, guys, we're up 3-0 going into Game 4, trying to eliminate the Bruins in 4, which would be sick considering I didn't know if the Sabres were going to make the playoffs in the first series in this do-over. So let's get into Game 4. And here we are. Through the first period, we've got our Sabres up 1-0 with a goal from Brock Besser. Again, who else at this point? Through 2, we've got another goal. It's Patrick Berglund. And we're going to see if we can't close this out in 4. Another one with the rookie Rasmus Dahlin, and it is 3-0. These Bruins are on life support. Let's, and as I say that, Patrice Bergeron puts one on the board, and it is 3-1. So they're at least making it somewhat close. We've got about 5 minutes to go here. We're going to hop into the game and see how this one ends.
And more to come. Boston's won that faceoff and possession established. Great stick. No chance on that pass. Taken behind by Marchand. Reinhart. It can be hard to win on the road in the NHL, but this Stanley Cup playoff first-round winner is the road team, and they will celebrate now. They haven't reached the ultimate yet, but this is an enormous step. They have clinched this series.
Fans at home, Doc, will be celebrating tonight as their team wraps this series up.
So after the first round, we're moving on to take care of the Lightning, it looks like. We've also got the Caps and Pens matching up again. The Sharks, my Sharks, against the Garbage Ducks. And then we've got Nashville and Wild as the last playoff matchup in the West. So let's see how it goes against Tampa. Let's get right into Game 1 here. Through the first period of Game 1, it is 1-0 Sabres. Besser again. This dude is going off. Through 2, it is 2-1. Kane getting on the board as well as Stamkos. And Tampa takes Game 1 with 2 huge goals in the third period. And yikes, that's a missed opportunity. So let's try and shake that one off. Go right into Game 2. Let's see, we've got through the first period, we've got a 0-0 tie. Through 2, 1-0 us, Besser again. And then through 3, we've got Ristolainen getting the late goal to tie this series up. That was necessary. We're moving on to Game 3. Besser's already got 5 goals in 6 games. Let's see if he can keep it up. Through the first period, it is 0-0, much like the previous game started out. And it's 2-0 Tampa with Stamkos and Gord getting on the board. And that is how this game is going to end. The goalies have been very good through this series so far. Well, we tied it up once. Let's do it again. Going into Game 4, we need to win this to not go down 3-1. So through the first period, it's a 0-0 tie again. Through 2, it's 2-0 us with Berglund and Kane getting on the board. And finally, at the end of this game, we've got another goal by Sergachev. That's fantastic. We're up 3-0, and it looks like we're going to coast on for that win and tie the series up 2-2. So here we are going into Game 5, tied 2-2. Through the first period, we've got a 1-0 lead with the goal from Jeff Skinner. Through 2, it is still 1-0 us. And we're going to see what happens in the third period here as time ticks down. We've got just under 5 minutes to go. Let's hop in and see how this one ends.
Tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. Buffalo's taken that neutral zone, but it hit it. Buffalo's winging it at neutral ice. And he pitches it back in.
At this point of the game, you cannot afford to make any mistakes. That puck's got to get in deep.
They score!
So we take Game 5 and we're up 3-2, putting them on the brink. And here is Game 6, trying to end this now. Through the first period, it is 2-1 us. Sheary and Eichel putting us in the lead. Let's go. Through 2 periods, it is 3-2 Tampa with a goal from Stamkos. And hopefully we can. And there goes Braden Point, and it's 4-2 Tampa. This doesn't look well. We're gonna see how this one plays out here. And it doesn't look like we're able to tie it up. So this is going to 7 games. So here we are, Game 7. I cannot stand Game 7s in this series because I don't want it to be over. So we're going through 1. It is 1-0 Tampa with a goal from Palat. Second period's 2-1 Tampa. And, things aren't looking good for these Sabres. We've got about 14 minutes left in the third period while time ticks down. We need a big goal. And there it is, Jason Pominville, the vet. 2-2, under 5 minutes to go. Let's see how this one plays out.
Hockey so far, and more to come. Neutral zone face-off 1. Possession established here. Quick wrister. Hits the post and out. Marches on a cross.
And, of course, Game 7 is going to overtime. Help.
Pass to Middlestat. Passing one off now to Reinhardt. Around through the corner. Muscled long. Score! And the overtime is finished. No lower low in hockey than seeing your hopes shattered like this. This is not the time to analyze it. That comes later. The handshakes are first. No time like playoff time. See you next time. Good night, all.
What an absolute huge Game 7 win, and here we are. We're in the conference finals facing Washington. Perfect record through this series so far. It looks like in the West we've got my Sharks against the Predators. I really hope if we make it onto the Cup final, I don't have to play the Sharks. I love my Sharks. So let's get into Game 1 against Washington. Alrighty, here we go. And through the first period, we've got a score of 0-0. Not a bad start. And it's 1-0 after 2 from a goal by Jeff Skinner. And we win the game 3-2 with Sheary and Sabatka providing the offense. So it was nice to see the bottom six contribute. And we're up 1-0 in the conference finals, boys. And here we are going into Game 2, looking to take a 2-0 lead in the conference finals. So through the first period, we've got a score of 3-2 Washington, Wilson, Kuznetsov, and Eller, with Reinhart scoring 2 for us. After 2, it is 3-3 with Mittelstadt getting on the board. And we're going to see if we can't go up 2-0 against these Caps. We've got about 5 minutes to go. Why don't we see how it ends?
Been a tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. A huge face-off win there. A great opportunity. Gathered up. A solo rush. Score! Defensive stick there. Great save. In the slot. Score! It's another power play goal.
And this one sucks to not close out in regulation, but here we are going to overtime.
And now it's directed to Bogosian. Good defensive play. Possession changes. For the win!
Both teams not giving their opponents much to work with. We had to go to overtime in order to close this out. With the series tied, it could still go either way.
Goalies want to shut down the ball.
We're just going to pretend like that game didn't happen and move on to Game 3. So through the first period in Game 3, we've got a 1-0 lead with a goal by Pominville. Through 2, it is 1-1. Trying to see if we can't get that 2-1 lead in this series. No, time's taken away here. And Washington takes a 2-1 lead late in the third period with a goal by Kempney. And this is looking like it's... and a huge goal by Besser to tie it with about 30 seconds to go. Oh, we're going to OT. Unreal.
With this, it's been a tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. We have begun sudden death overtime. There will be someone here who can end this. Takes that pass. One-timer. The lane was jammed, and it hit somebody. Stick can break up a play, and it just did. Pitching this one to Smith-Pelly. Might be the game. Dings it off the iron. Score! And the overtime is finished. Game 3 completed, and it's a 2-1 series. The tie is now broken. Will it be tied again next time?
There's a lead in the series, but no clear-cut winner. This could go all the way.
Holy smoke, Smith-Pelly has ended it in OT twice in a row on a breakaway. Anyways, we're on to Game 4 here, trying to tie the series, and it's 2-1 us with goals from Eichel and Sheary. It's 3-1 Buffalo, another goal by Eichel. And through the rest of this game, let's just try and hold on to the lead. And it's 3-2 with a goal by Backstrom. This is getting ridiculous. 4-2, there we go. Skinner's on the board, and it looks like we're going to close this one out and even up the series. Let's go, Sabres. And right into Game 5, looking to take the 3-2 lead so we can get to that Cup final. And through the first period, it is 0-0, which I'll take. After 2 periods, it is 1-1 with a goal by Besser. Who else? Washington scores, and it's Backstrom to put them up 2-1 with about 10 minutes to go in the third period. And that'll just about do it. Ovechkin getting another goal. Berglund scores one late, but that's all she wrote for Game 5. All right, we're down 3-2 in the series. Need this win. So game 6, through the first period, it is 1-0. Good guys. Through 2, it is still 1-0. We're looking to hold on to this lead here and hopefully force, and there goes that. Ovechkin scores to tie it up. It is now 1-1. 10 minutes to go in the game. This is, again, to save our season and push it to 7 games here. We've got about 5 minutes to go. And, yeah, we're going to have to go and see how this one goes.
Been a tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. Buffalo's got another face-off win.
Of course, this is going to OT. Let's cue the Devontae Smith-Pelly breakaway goal to end it already.
Play as this period is underway. It's dumped in. Good defensive play, hand to eye and center ice. Using the point. Score! And the overtime is finished. One of the most exciting phrases in hockey. Game 7. And they've earned it.
Doc, it doesn't get any more intense than this. No one wants to go home, and both teams find themselves even in the series. Game 7 will be the one to separate them.
Huge win. Let's get into Game 7 right away here. And through the first period, it is 1-1. This is for all the marbles here, boys. Through 2, it is 2-1 us. Middlestad puts us up. And, you know, throughout the do-over series, this has gone really well. And I'm literally just letting the CPU do it. No save and redo. This is just first time. And I would really like to carry the streak. And it is 3-1 Jeff Skinner. Let's go, boys. We're under 5 minutes to go here. Let's see how it finishes out and if there's a handshake.
It's been a tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. Washington's got that neutral zone faceoff. Directing that one to Kempney. That's a goaltender's best friend, a defenseman that can use his stick. Round 3. They haven't reached the ultimate yet, but this is an enormous step. They have clinched this series.
The players are going to feel awfully good about wrapping up this series, but they're going to have to rein it in and prepare for the next round.
Time now for the presentation of the Prince of Wales Trophy. It goes to the Eastern Conference team that is already thinking about the Stanley Cup final. I guess the question always is, will they touch it or not? There's some superstition operating here. Tournaments are fun, especially when they get to loser goes home, winner moves on. We are at that point. Don't miss our next one. For Eddie Olczyk and Ray Ferraro, Mike Emmerich saying so long for now.
It's Cup Finals season, and of course it's against San Jose. Well, I get to play my Sharks, but let's take a look at the playoff point leaders for us. Skinner, Besser, Eichel, all having amazing playoff runs with over 15 points each. It looks like Ovechkin and Kuznetsov, though, were cruising in the prior series because, yeah, they're almost a clear 10 points above us. But we'll see who's going to end up winning that Conn Smythe. See if we can't take out my Sharks. So, here we are in Game 1. Let's go for all the marbles. And after one period, it's 1-0 us with a goal from Jeff Skinner. And 4-1 after 2. Yeah, that's going to do it. Not the start we're looking for. All right, on to Game 2 and erase that second period. So it's 1-0 Sharks after 1. Pavelski scores for them. After 2, it is 2-1 us with another 2 from Eichel. Let's go, Ikes. 3-1 Besser scores, and we're rolling now. 4-1. This one's over. Let's go. We end it 6-3. Here we go. Cup final, Game 3. Let's see if we can't go up 2-1 in the series against my Sharks. So through the first period in Game 3, it is 3-2 us. A ton of scoring. Skinner, Sabatka, and Sergachev for the Sabres. And we add another. It's Jeff Skinner. And we're going to run this out. Burns makes it interesting with about 2 minutes to go, but that's it. Here we are. It's 2-1 us in the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 4, we're up 2-1 in the series. Let's put a stranglehold on it. Through the first period, it is 3-1 us. Berglund, Ristolainen, and Mittelstadt. Let's go. 5-3. There is a ton of goals in this series, and hopefully we can just hang on. Couture scores to make it interesting. And Johansson looks like he ices it. Let's go. It's 3-1, boys. We're 1 win away. Game 5, Stanley Cup Finals. Looking to see if we can't win the Sabres the Cup in the first year of the do-over. And after the first period in Game 5, we've got a 2-0 San Jose lead. That's a yikes. Through 2, it is still 2-0. Looks like they're going to push it to 6 here. Well, hold the phone. Besser the GOAT gets us within 1. All right, let's see if they can tie it up.
With us, it's been a tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. Off the face-off, he ties his man up and into the end of attack. Fires! Goalie to the bench. Substitution made. Slid to Burns. Puck loose, denied by the defense. And the game is over. San Jose's losing streak has finally ended. It was uncertain right to the end, but they have emerged victorious.
All right, it's not over yet. We're going to Game 6 here. We're up 3-2 in the Cup Finals, and yeah, I want to get this over with now. So, Sabres, could you help me out a little bit? So, Game 6, after the first period, it is 0-0. Through 2, it is 1-0 us with a goal by Besser. This is crazy. What a cup run he had. And Dylan ties it up. Holy smokes. And we're all tied under 5 minutes to go here. Please not overtime.
So far, and more to come.
Buffalo's want to block shots is quite admirable. They challenge every shot lane. They make sure every puck has a difficult path to their goaltender.
Not on goal.
I know lots of people like high-scoring games. Well, actually, I'm one of them. But this has been almost like a...
Why would it end in regulation? Game 6 for the Cup win. We're going to OT.
By the defense. Can they keep it going here?
Off the one-timer.
Ran into the defense. He's lost it. Right in front. Wide. What a chance. Buffalo's back in its own end, trying to work forward. Good, solid defensive play with the stick. Couldn't get his way through.
And it looks like one overtime wasn't enough, so let's keep it going here.
Right next to the line. Stood up there. Score! And that wins it, the Stanley Cup.
There is so much that goes into even the possibility of winning a championship. Now they have found the way to the end of the road, and the Stanley Cup is theirs. I'm not really sure where this tradition originated, but it's one that separates our sport, I believe, from a lot of the others. The players come together, congratulate each other on a hard-fought series, but it doesn't mean that you actually like the guy that you're shaking hands with.
The man-chosen playoff MVP gets the Conn Smythe Trophy. Boy, is this ever well-deserved.
There's always a little bit of an odd feeling when the Conn Smythe Trophy is handed out, because it's an individual award when everybody is here to see the best trophy in sports presented, and that will come next.
It's often said it's the hardest prize to win because it takes 8 weeks. And by tradition, the captain is the first to hold it high.
He's often acknowledged to be one of the best captains in all of sport. To be the leader of a championship team is one thing. To be held on a different level as he is quite another. I can't even imagine how excited the players are waiting for their turn to take the Stanley Cup for a spin around the ice. There is a pecking order to this, mostly on seniority, but it's never really discussed. It just kind of happens.
In what would be his last Stanley Cup victory, Wayne Gretzky gathered everyone at center ice for a team picture, and that has now become a custom.
There you have it, guys. 3 critical mistakes by the Sabres, and they could be Cup champs this season. Thank you guys for watching. I'm No Sleeps 12, and next week I think we're going to do Ottawa or Montreal. Actually, leave some comments. Tell me who you want to see. Stay sweet, guys.